Okay, this video is going to focus purely on the impact that Abu Dhabi 2021 had on Lando Norris's World Championship. Now, to some of you, that doesn't matter. Fine. Okay, we all are a fan of certain drivers, and other drivers, we're not that bothered on where they might finish. Fine. But that's not the point. When you are engaged in a sport, every competitor matters. The outcome for all of them matters. It matters to them, it matters to their fans. Formula One Grand Prix racing isn't a knockout competition. It's not a shootout. It's like a league season in football. In the Premier League, you have to play each of the other teams twice. You play a total of 38 games. So you play 19 games home, 19 games away against the 19 other teams in that league. 38 games. You play them all and you accumulate points at each of those games. You either get 0 if you lose, you get 1 if you draw, you get 3 if you win. And all of those points that you accumulate, they go into your final total, and that total determines where you finish in that hierarchy of clubs, where you finish in the league table. And that matters because where you finish will impact what you win, what you qualify for, how much money you earn, whether you get relegated. It all matters. In the sport of Formula One, where you finish in that list of, say, 20 drivers, there might be more if there's been driver substitutions throughout the season, it all matters for you as a driver, where you finish within that list of 20 or so drivers. It can impact your entire career. Other teams looking for an upgrade to their present driver lineup will be looking out at the other competitors, at the other drivers, as to what they're accomplishing, as to where they're finishing in that World Championship. It matters. It matters. So I'm going to go through what was happening with Lando Norris at that race and the fact that it was entirely ignored by everybody in the sport of Formula One, because you will not have heard this anywhere else. I've not heard it anywhere else. I've not, every media search that I've done, I have not heard this anywhere else. Why? Ask yourself why. Okay? Now, let me just show you something. There's the BBC's Andrew Benson. The BBC, an authentic broadcasting outlet, or so we are led to believe. This man can't tell you anything about it. We've got the FIA. They did a FIA executive summary report. Executive summary of the analysis and clarification exercise conducted by the FIA following the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. No mention of the Lando Norris situation, the Charles Leclerc situation, the Carlos Sainz situation. Strange that. Very strange that. But I'm going to show you some facts, and I'm going to show you context. We get a lot of people that will come to this channel and give us their opinion. Many of us have grown up in this world where the emphasis now is on this notion of everybody being entitled to have an opinion about something. You're not entitled to be wrong. Some things in this world are right and some things are wrong. It's binary. It either is or it isn't. If your opinion is wrong about something, you're not entitled to have that opinion. You are just wrong. And if you don't understand that, think back to when you were at school, to those of you that actually received an education, if you're able to take it in. If you were doing your maths exam, for example, and you were asked a question, you weren't being asked what your opinion was. You're being asked, what is the answer to this question? It's either right or it is wrong. It's not asking you for an opinion that you're entitled to have because that's equally valid. No, it's not. It's likewise in your science exam. If you are asked to provide the formula, the equation for a chemical reaction, they want something that is, okay, not your opinion, because if your opinion is wrong, it's not valid. So this notion of being entitled to think what you think is utter rubbish. There are certain things where we can have opinions about certain things, but there are certain situations whereby there is a clear right and a clear wrong. This is one of those situations where there is a clear right and a clear wrong. It's not up for debate. It's not up for your opinion. So if you disagree with this, you are wrong. Keep your opinion to yourself rather than pollute the minds of others. Right, I'm now going to get into this video. This is the Wikipedia page relating to Lando Norris. So you can see that his first season in Formula One was the 2019 season, where he finished 11th in the championship, having accumulated 49 points. In 2020, he finished 9th in the Drivers' Championship, having amassed 97 points. 2021, the season in question, he amassed 160 points and finished 6th in the championship. At that point was his best ever finish, and actually still is, because he only leveled that, he only kind of equaled that in the 2023 season. Now currently in the 2024 season, he's currently in second position, but in his first 5 seasons, his best finish was 6th. Bearing in mind, McLaren, they've really got it together this season. But prior to that, would Lando Norris have been potentially looking for a more competitive drive, a drive in one of the best teams on the grid that would enable him to achieve his ambitions of becoming a world champion? Well, I would say that is true of every driver on that grid. So, what are they going to be assessing Lando on? How he finishes in races, how many points he's accumulated, where he finishes in the World Championship. And the evidence is, well, his record has gone 11th, 9th, 6th, 7th, 6th. So that's his level of those first 5 seasons, 6th. But could he have done any better? Well, let's have a look. So, going into Abu Dhabi 2021, this was the situation in the Drivers' Championship. The two main contenders for the title, Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, were tied on 369.5 points. Max Verstappen occupying position 1 on the basis of supposedly having 9 wins to Lewis Hamilton's 8. Now, that extra win consisted of being given victory of the Belgian parade, whereby half points were awarded. This is why we have these 0.5s in that points total. Rather than receive 25 points for a win, they declared half points. So Max Verstappen was awarded the win of that event, receiving 12.5 points. Lewis Hamilton was awarded 3rd place in that event, receiving 7.5 points. That's a difference of 5 points that Max got awarded more than Lewis. It was a non-event. That event did not even meet the FIA's criteria that is written in their regulations for that event to even be classified as ever starting, and yet they declared that somebody had won it. It's in the regulations. The race does not start until the safety car has returned to the pits and those cars, the lead car, crosses the start-finish line for the first time once that safety car has returned to the pits. That never took place. Whilst they took them cars out on track, lapping them in the rain behind the safety car, Martin Brundle and David Croft were lying, saying, oh, so we're now underway. This is officially the first lap of the race. No, you're lying. You're lying to the global watching world, pretending that some sort of race is happening when all that's happening is the cars are being paraded around the track, getting eyes on all of those brands and the sponsorship, and it never officially even started. So the reality going into Abu Dhabi 2021 was that Lewis Hamilton, you can deduct 7.5 points from that total, meaning that Lewis Hamilton is on 362 points, and Max Verstappen, you can deduct 12.5 points from that total. So you're taking Max Verstappen down to 357 points. Lewis is ahead by 5 points going into Abu Dhabi. Let's see if Max tries to take him out on that one then. But we're not talking about this at the moment. And actually the wins column, though, that would be 8 each when you take that supposed victory of a Belgian parade away from Max Verstappen. But we're not looking at that. What we're looking at is positions 5, 6 and 7 in this Drivers' Championship table. If you start at the top, with supposedly 2 cars at a level, the reality is one is 5 points ahead. You know that there is a potential to gain 26 points at a Grand Prix. You get 25 points for winning it, and you can pick up 1 point for setting the fastest lap. So you can potentially grab 26 points. So those first 2, there is the opportunity for one to surpass the other. Third place is Valtteri Bottas. He is on 218 points. Valtteri Bottas is well over 100 points behind second, and he is 28 points ahead of fourth. Valtteri Bottas is confirmed as finishing in P3 in the championship, regardless of what happens. Okay, he can't win it and the 2 guys ahead of him not finish and Valtteri overtake them. Likewise, he cannot go out of the race, Perez win with setting the fastest lap, and Perez leapfrog Bottas in the standings. So Bottas is secured in third. Perez, we know that Perez can't go up to third. Can he be caught? Well, 5th place Charles Leclerc, if you added 26 points on to Charles Leclerc's total, that's going to take him to 184. Charles Leclerc can't catch Sergio Perez. Perez is confirmed as 4th position. So 3rd and 4th in that championship are fixed. 5th. So the highest that Charles Leclerc can finish is 5th. He's currently on 158 points. 6th place is Lando Norris. 154 points, just 4 points behind. So as long as Lando Norris can accumulate 4 more points than Charles Leclerc, Lando Norris can potentially finish 5th in the Drivers' Championship. The first driver after those dominant teams of Mercedes and Red Bull. Now that would be an accolade to hold, wouldn't it? 7th position, Carlos Sainz. Well, Carlos Sainz, 7th position going in to the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. He's on 149.5 points. Again, we could scrutinise this down and deduct what was awarded at Belgium, because that's what really needs to happen. But we're just going to go with these points for the time being for the purpose of this video. 149.5 points. So he's only 4.5 points behind 6th. And behind his teammate, he's 8.5 points behind his teammate, Charles Leclerc. Now again, within the context of the team, you like to beat your teammate. If you supposedly got equal machinery, then you want to prove that you're the better of the 2 competitors in that machinery. Assuming that machinery is equal. Daniel Ricciardo is in 8th position. He's on 115 points. If you added 26 to that total, well, you're only going to go to 141. So Carlos Sainz is secure in 7th at worst. So the positions up for grabs that we're going to look at is 5th, 6th and 7th in the World Championship. Now, what does that look like? Well, again, before we go to that, before we go to that, you can go down the list of drivers, and we can also then look at the constructors title, because this is for my Toto Wolff video that I'm going to do. There's one of my ones that I'm going to put out in the next week, I reckon. Right, whenever I get round to it, but it shouldn't be too long. This is the Mercedes versus Red Bull situation going into Abu Dhabi. Okay, going into Abu Dhabi. Here's the difference. 587.5, 559.5. So let's just make this easy for you kids. Add 0.5 to each of them totals. So Mercedes on 588, Red Bull on 560. 560 to 588. Well, that's 28. That's a difference of 28. If you have one competitor, the maximum one competitor can achieve is 26 points. 25 for the race win, 1 for the fastest lap, 26. You can't surpass being 28 points behind if you've only going to put one car out in that race and get 26 points maximum from it. Checo, we need to retire the car. We need to retire the car. Box. Really? Really? But we're not going to talk about that in this video. We're going to talk about the Lando Norris situation relative to Charles Leclerc, relative to Carlos Sainz. So we're going to pick up Abu Dhabi at 1 hour, 19 minutes, 25 seconds. And at that moment in time, I'm going to go using tracker view as I have to do to prevent the content getting blocked. At that moment in time, the race order is Hamilton leading, Verstappen and Perez in second and third, Sainz in fourth, Norris in fifth, Bottas in sixth. So remember, the key drivers here are Sainz, Norris and Leclerc, because we're looking at P5, 6 and 7 in the Drivers' Championship. So let's have a listen to what is going on here, and let's listen to Martin Brundle and David Croft. Let's pay attention to what is being said.
Yeah, and doing a great job is also Lando Norris, keeping Valtteri Bottas at bay all the way, despite giving away the drag reduction system, both carrying Mercedes-Benz engines, of course.
And after we heard earlier in the race that he was losing gears and having technical difficulties, Lando Norris in a very solid 5th place at the moment. And for Lando Norris, a 5th place that would give him 5th place in the championship.
So, a 5th place that would give Lando Norris 5th place in the championship. 5th in the Drivers' Championship for the season. That's quite significant. Lando Norris has never done that. To finish 5th in what would have been his 3rd season in the sport, well, that's pretty good.
Charles Leclerc out of the points, the driver currently in 5th in the standings. Norris could move into the top 5, which he deserves for this season.
He absolutely deserved it. He had no luck.
It's been a really, really excellent season for Lando Norris. Could have had a win in Russia, that didn't go his way. Got a pole in Russia, but he has been on the podium 4 times and leading that McLaren charge.
It says I've got 8 laps on my dash.
Ignore the dash. Ignore the dash.
At this stage of a Formula 1 season, when it's getting that close, any little thing, Martin, is going to be a bit of a distraction.
I wonder if the dash is still set up for the number of laps in the Grand Prix last year. No, seriously.
It's possible.
Yeah, because we're 3 laps longer, aren't we? Because of the track shorter this year. Well, maybe there's a software glitch in it, something that hasn't been changed.
Well, when you check, double check and triple check everything as engineers and mechanics going into a race, that might be the one little thing that slips by while you're concentrating on everything else.
Yeah, when you know every detail, you leave no stone unturned to make sure that you do everything for your team's success. You know what the regulations are in relation to safety car procedure. You'd plan your pit strategy around that. You determine your strategy as to whether to box during that safety car period or not, based on whether you were going to lose track position and whether there was likely to be any racing regime, wouldn't you? You'd leave no stone unturned.
good spot if it's true.
So Verstappen just took a second out of.
And I'll show you what each team decided there and what their choices were, evidencing what they knew about the safety car situation.
The lead there, but it's still a dozen seconds. And Lewis then has cleared 3 of the 4. He's got Alonso coming up next. And Verstappen has cleared both Aston Martins as well. Then, of course, he has to get through Leclerc, Ricciardo, Ocon and Alonso.
Fans, well, I was going to say watching, but at some stages, when you're that closely invested in one way or the other, it's very, very difficult to watch.
So how many laps?
11 remaining. Gap to Verstappen, 12.3.
How's it, Chloe? I'm down to 12 already.
It's just that back marker traffic, Lewis. He's going to have to get through it too.
Hamilton then making his way through the cars about to be lapped. Verstappen will have to do that himself very soon as well. Christian Horner on that Red Bull pit wall. I don't.
So we cut away to Christian Horner, where Christian Horner asked for help from the racing gods. Let's have a look where we are at the moment. Carlos Sainz is in 4th position. Well, how many points do you get for 4th? 25 for the win, 18 for 2nd, 15 for 3rd, and it's 12 for 4th. So what does 12 points added on to Carlos Sainz total do? So back to this page, which was the standings prior to the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Add 12 points onto Carlos Sainz. What does that take him to? Well, that takes him to 161.5. You add Lando Norris is in 5th. You get 10 points for finishing 5th. That takes him to 164. So that jumps Charles Leclerc, and Carlos Sainz has jumped Charles Leclerc as well. So what we see is an adjustment in this from Charles Leclerc in 5th currently. Norris jumps him, Carlos Sainz moves up to 6th, and Charles Leclerc drops to 7th in the Drivers' Championship. Quite significant, isn't it? Lando Norris up to 5th, Carlos Sainz up to 6th, Charles Leclerc down to 7th. Quite significant, you'd say. But we're not interested about that. We're interested in Christian Horner.
I don't know if you're struggling to watch this or not, Christian, but if you were tense at the start, it's probably getting even more tense now with 10 laps to go.
Yeah, you know, the pace of the Mercedes is just too strong today, so Max is driving his heart out there, but we're going to need a miracle.
The pace of the Mercedes is too strong. That's why Lando Norris is beating it, Carlos Sainz is beating it, Sergio Perez is beating it, Max Verstappen is beating it. It's the Mercedes that's got the pace that's too strong. It's not Lewis Hamilton, is it? It's the Mercedes. That Mercedes of Valtteri Bottas that 4 other cars from other teams are beating. The Mercedes is too strong.
In these last 10 laps to turn it around, so he'll give it everything, but you know, the clock's ticking.
Nothing you can do now, I guess. It's Max's right foot. It's all that's left, isn't it? He's gained 2 seconds in the last 2 laps, but as you say, too much to do.
He's got 4 cars to go through. I mean, he needs some luck.
Max's right foot has caused him to gain 2 seconds in the last 2 laps. It's not the fact that Hamilton has had to pass those back markers, and there's been times where he might have had to be held up a little bit because they weren't suitable opportunities at certain positions on the track that facilitate overtaking, meaning it's had to slow him down until those opportunities arose. Oh, he's caught 2 seconds in 2 laps.
From the racing gods, I think, these last 10 laps, but you know, we're going to give it everything as we have done all year, as Max has done all year, and he'll drive his heart out these last 10 laps, you can guarantee that.
Would this been a different race for you if Lewis Hamilton had to have given the place back at turn 6 on that opening lap, or do you think...
Right, rather than being cited by what happened on lap 1 of this event, where Max essentially crowded Lewis Hamilton off the track, had Lewis Hamilton not have left that track, he would have been hit by Max Verstappen, and that could have potentially taken him out of the race and out of the World Championship. So Lewis Hamilton had to take evasive action. let's not focus on that at the moment. Let's focus on Lando Norris's orange dot here that's just approaching turn 16.
Come the final reckoning, it wouldn't have made much difference.
Well, it gives you more options. You have track position, you've got clean air.
It's disappeared. What's going on now?
So yeah, we're disappointed in that decision, but you know, it is what it is, and
possibly
we're
as
just
low
getting on with
puncture
it.
for
And
Norris, possibly
I
as
think,
low
you know,
puncture
in all
for
honesty, they've
Norris.
just had a quicker car when you look at the pace that they've got on these worn tyres, but still 10 laps to go.
Thanks ever so much, Christian. Lando Norris pits, slow puncture for Lando Norris, and that forced him into the pits, and well, that just compounds what has been a bit of a disappointing night in terms of technical difficulties. He was doing a super job, but he's been relegated now down to 8th. Bottas up into 5th place, Tsunoda 6th, Gasly 7th. Ted, down to you.
Right, before we go down to Ted, Lando Norris is now relegated to 10th position. Bearing in mind, he was ahead of Bottas. He suffered a puncture, meaning Bottas has gone through, Tsunoda has gone through, Gasly has gone through, Alonso has gone through, Ocon has gone through. So he's been relegated from 5th, now down to 10th position. What does that mean? It means Lando Norris is now on course to only get 1 point. Oh, that's changed the situation, hasn't it? Sainz is still in 4th. So Sainz leapfrogs his teammate. Let's go back to the championship standings at this point in time. Here they are, look. So what's happening? Leclerc's out of the points in 12th position. He stays where he is on 158. Lando Norris is now in 10th position, where you only get 1 point for 10th. So he is now on 155. He stays where he is behind Charles Leclerc. Carlos Sainz, though. Carlos Sainz is in 4th position. You get 12 points. So add 12 points onto that. That takes him to 161.5. Carlos Sainz is now up to 5th. Carlos Sainz up to 5th. Charles Leclerc in 6th. Lando Norris now in 7th position in this championship. See, it's all changing. All of these different positions affecting these drivers, affecting the World Championship table for these drivers. This is how it works, kids. It's not just about those that are in 1st and 2nd. Everyone matters. I mean, you don't have to believe me. You are entitled to your opinion, but you're not entitled to an opinion if the opinion is wrong. Okay, this is the FIA International Sporting Code from the 2021 season. Let's have a look what this says, general principles. This is just the contents. It tells you all the articles and the contents. We'll have a look what that means. The FIA shall be the sole international sporting authority entitled to make and enforce regulations based on the fundamental principles of safety and sporting fairness for the encouragement and control of automobile competitions and to organise FIA International Championship. The FIA should be the final international court of appeal for the settlement of disputes arising therefrom, it being acknowledged that the Fédération Internationale de Motocyclisme shall exercise the same powers insofar as vehicles with 1, 2 and 3 wheels are concerned. To the fullest extent permitted by applicable law, neither the FIA nor any of its officers, agents, employees, directors or officials shall be liable to any other party for any claim, cost, damage or loss resulting from any action, decision or omission by the FIA or its officers, agents, employees, directors or officials in connection with their duties, except for willful misconduct or fraud. So the FIA tried to indemnify themselves from being held to account for what they do, but the law is if they've done something that's criminal, i.e. fraud, well, you're unlucky. You can't indemnify yourself from not being held accountable for fraud. So that the above powers may be exercised in a fair and equitable manner, the FIA has drawn up the International Sporting Code, which includes all appendices thereto. The purpose of the code is to regulate, encourage and facilitate motorsport, not a motor show. It's not a motor show guideline, everybody. It's motor sport. 1.2.3. It will never be enforced so as to prevent or impede a competition or the participation of a competitor, save where the FIA concludes that this is necessary for the safe, fair or orderly conduct of motorsport. So you're not going to enforce the regulations which are underpinned by this sporting code. You'll never enforce them to prevent or impede competition. Whose competition was impeded? Well, the reality is, and let's be clear about this, it was a safety car finish. That running order behind the safety car could not change. So, when Red Bull retired Perez to hand Mercedes the Constructors' Championship and with it the prize money that was associated with that, because let's be clear, that's what they retired Perez for, that was part of the deal, then Lando Norris got promoted to 7th position. He went from 10th to 8th because he passed Ocon after coming out of the pits, having had to go in there for this supposed puncture. He came out of the pits, he made it past Ocon, he made it past Alonso, and I'm going to show you that. And then, that's where he stayed in 8th position, until Perez retired during that safety car period, where he got elevated to 7th position. Let's have a look what happened and how that affects the championship. So, back to trusty old tracker view. Norris then, come out of the pits, is the first of the orange dots, his teammates Ricciardo's behind him. Leclerc, who's ahead of him in the championship, is outside of the points in 12th position. So we've got the two Alpines of, firstly, the first car that he needs to pass is Ocon, then it's Alonso. In having to pit, Norris emerged from them pits behind Hamilton. Prior to that point in time, Norris was in 5th place ahead of Bottas. Hamilton hadn't even made it to Gasly, Tsunoda, Bottas. The puncture and having to pit caused Norris to then be passed by Hamilton. That's the impact that that incident had on Norris's situation. So let's have a look.
Lando Norris. Yeah, it was just if he doesn't. Team radio.
And we've seen Norris with a front left puncture, so just be careful on the curbs.
That's the curbs, that's the thing. You see, Lando's problems were sorted from early on. He was just being told on the radio to be careful about deployment, but that's just an energy recovery, a hybrid system.
So we see Norris, look at that orange dot, moving ahead of Ocon. So Norris will soon be shown as moving from 10th up to 9th position on that list on the right-hand side. Have a listen to Ted.
A bit of advice from his engineers, but these curbs, Pirelli were worried about them coming here because they're aggressive, like they're aggressive in Qatar, where we saw some front.
They're aggressive. They're going to just jump out and hit you, because that's no, they're just curbs.
Left punctures. So has this Grand Prix got a further tyre twist in it, Crofty?
Has this Grand Prix got a further tyre twist in it, Crofty? Yeah, couldn't make it up, could you?
Surely not.
Just as Christian Horner was saying, we need a miracle to win the race from
a tyre twist. And Christian Horner says we need a miracle.
From here, they angle grinded down some of the curves on Thursday nights. Friday night, I should say.
Ignore Crofty and Brundle, because they're just full of lies. Okay, they're just trying to condition your mind. The focus needs to be on Lando Norris's orange dot and when he's going to get past Alonso.
Just to make them a little less aggressive, but sadly for Lando Norris, he's got a slow puncture.
So we think the problem curbs maybe just turn 15, turn 16.
So turns 15 and 16, the final two corners on the track, taken at about 160 miles an hour, and then taken, what, the final corner around about 93 miles an hour.
Of course, we saw this in Qatar, didn't we? In terms of tyres not enjoying consistent pounding. In fact, Valtteri Bottas was the first one to find out, unfortunately for him.
This is Lando Norris, currently down in 9th place. And down in 9th place because on the fresher set of a medium compound tyre, he's managed to get past Esteban Ocon. Lando Norris, who...
There we go, Lando Norris. They've announced it now, almost a lap later, that he's managed to get past Ocon.
Races all the way to the line, especially here in Abu Dhabi. After a few seasons ago, we had a stellar last lap in his Grand Prix debut season. Came home to finish in 8th place, still racing to the line.
What's he doing now? Is he attacking Alonso?
Right now.
Normal service resumed now then for Lewis Hamilton, straight back into the 126s. Now he's cleared the traffic, and now that Norris is pitted, that means there are 5 cars for Verstappen to get through.
Which is the leader of them? Now it's Lando. So, within a lap and a half, he's gone from 10th to 8th. So now he's got, what, 8 laps to go, 8.5 laps to try and track down Gasly. So, how many points do you get for 8th? Is that 4 points? I think you get 4 points. I think the let's have a think about this. 25 for the win, 18 for second, 15 for third, 12 for fourth, 10 for fifth, and then I think it goes 8, 6, 4, 2, 1. So if that's right, 4 points is what Norris is currently on. Well, he was 4 points behind Leclerc, wasn't he? So that puts him level with Leclerc. Do they then do a count back to see who's got the most higher point scoring positions as to who's going to finish higher in the championship between Norris and Leclerc? If Norris can catch Gasly, then that will put Norris ahead of Leclerc for sure, because then Norris will get extra points. So that's got to be the plan for Norris now. Chase down Gasly, and providing Leclerc doesn't pick any points up, then Norris will overtake Leclerc in the championship. How that impacts the position of Sainz? Well, at the moment, Sainz is in 4th position on course for 12 points. If Norris is on 4 at the moment, well, there's a difference of 8 there. So let's see how that looks. So currently, difference of 8 points. Well, 8 points more than Norris for Sainz. Well, that would make sure Sainz leapfrogs Norris. So that is currently putting Sainz up to 5th, and Norris and Leclerc currently level. So that would go down to who had got the most amount of higher point scoring positions out of Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc in that season. Who got the most second places? Who got the most third places, for example? That must be how they would determine drivers who are level on points, as to how you differentiate them. So currently, as things stand, Carlos Sainz is going to finish 5th. Lando Norris is going to be level on points with Charles Leclerc. That's going to go back on count back. But what can Lando do between now and the end of the race? How many more positions can he pick up? How is this going to impact Lando Norris's World Championship? Let's have a look. So let's, Lando Norris supporters, let's see what Lando can do in these closing laps of Abu Dhabi. With 5th position in the championship up for grabs. You know, the first driver competing for a team, representing a team that's not one of the top 2 teams. You know, that's a great position if you're Lando Norris, if you can be the first guy out of the rest of the grid behind the dominant Mercedes and Red Bull cars. Let's see what Lando can do.
That DRS train, as we call it.
Yeah, Verstappen, though, will get DRS to help him lap those cars, and that might just help him shave off a couple of seconds here.
You know, like I said in the previous video, Lewis Hamilton has been hindered by having to get through 4 of those lap cars. Obviously, he passed Lando when Lando was in the pits. And that cost Lewis some time, but now Hamilton's back into the 126s, having negotiated them. But Supermax, he's going to get DRS, and that's going to help Max shave off even more time. 2 conflicting descriptions of how things work. One of them's right, one of them's not. Let me know your opinion, because you're entitled to that in the comments section. Anyway, we'll carry on.
There, but he needs a little bit more than that. As it stands, 394.5 points for Lewis Hamilton. He will become world champion. Max Verstappen will have led more laps than any other driver during the...
Oh, Max Verstappen will have led many more laps than every other driver. Oh, incredible. I bet you strap-on fanboys pop your cork every time you hear that, don't you, lads?
Course of this season, but it won't be enough to give him that dream of a first ever Formula One World Championship. We've said it all season long, Martin, and especially this weekend though, whoever is champion, both drivers have put in a champion performance all season long.
Without doubt. If you look back, there's all those little tormenting moments, aren't there? Your Max got wiped out, didn't he, when Valtteri Bottas was playing billiards in Hungary and the tyre in Baku, and Lewis, you know, went off in Baku then and lost some points, and just all those little twists and turns that we can look back and that would have made the difference. But you win a championship over a season, not over a race. As
absolutely right. It's all about the points that you accumulate over the course of the season. So what we're going to do is add the points they accumulate at this race to how many they've already accumulated at each of the other equivalent events over the course of the season. Maybe the few additions of the sprint races, because they're not equivalent events, but they're still point scoring things as defined in the terms of the championship. We'll carry on.
Leclerc gets out of the way and lets Max Verstappen through, but at the end of the day, Mercedes and Hamilton came on so strongly.
Indeed, Mercedes came on so strongly. Not anything else. It is Mercedes. Once again, the Mercedes is just too fast.
Yep. At the end of the season, as they have done again tonight, and Lewis's pace and with tyres that have been on since lap 14 is really quite sensational now, and just keeping anything at bay.
Will there be a tyre twist? Them tyres that have been on since lap 14. But we're not focusing on that. We're focusing on Lando Norris and Pierre Gasly over here. Pierre Gasly!
Talk more Mercedes in a moment. Verstappen, when he goes to wherever he goes to lie down and relax at the end of this season, will he think back to Silverstone?
Should we not be talking about lads, of Lewis Hamilton? What an amazing career he's had. He's won a record at this stage, 103 Grand Prix. I think he got the record 103 pole positions. He's on course to extend that record of 103 Grand Prix to 104 Grand Prix, well ahead of Michael Schumacher, who I believe was on about 91 and finished on a 91. But now going to overtake that record of 7 that he shared with Michael Schumacher of 7 Drivers' World Champion, and become a record-breaking 8-time World Champion. Are we going to talk about that, or are we just going to talk about Max Verstappen having a lie down?
What do you think that if I'd have just given up the fight that day to win the overall battle, I'd be world champion?
To incite the strap-on fanboy.
Now, or will that not enter his...
You're entitled to your opinion, strap-on fanboy. You're entitled to that. I mean, you're not entitled to be wrong, but you're entitled to your opinion.
Mine.
I've asked him that a couple of times on camera, and he's like, no, I would. In fact, he actually rejoined on that when I asked him that in Brazil. He said, no, I'd do the same thing again. My feeling is...
Definition of insanity. Repeating the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome.
I don't know why you did the same thing again, because he had a 33-point lead that morning and ended up, sadly for Max, in hospital that day.
Lando Norris on and up to...
Oh, what a nasty man Lewis is. He ended up in hospital that day. Who put him there? Oh, that would be, take responsibility for your own actions. Sometimes you need to know when to give the other car space when they've earned the right to the corner, and therefore you have to afford them racing room. If you didn't do that, and then there's a collision, well, who's to blame?
To 8th place after a late pit stop caused by that slow puncture. He's charging through the field.
Oh, they've told us Lando's up to 8th now. How many laps ago did he achieve that? But now they tell us. Tell us, it must have been a delay.
Teammate Daniel Ricciardo moves out of the way of Max Verstappen, then quickly gets back onto the racing line because he wants to try and keep Charles Leclerc at bay, but both Ricciardo and Leclerc out of the points at the moment. Mercedes on course to be Constructors' champions for a 8th record-breaking...
Oh, a record-breaking 8th time. Are they talking about Lewis Hamilton? No, they're not, are they? On course for a record-breaking 8th World Championship. It's just Mercedes they're talking about.
8th consecutive time, and in a season where the regulations changed ever so slightly, but at their detriment at the start of this season, it's once again a great recovery because they felt they've been...
The regulations seem to change with regard to driving standards as well, to Lewis Hamilton's detriment, having to be forced off track without the other driver getting penalised on however many occasions. Well, he certainly got crowded at Spain, although managed to stay on track. He got crowded off track at Imola. He got crowded off track at Monza. That was before he got landed on his head, saved by the halo. He got crowded off track at Brazil. He got crowded off track at Saudi. He got crowded off track at Abu Dhabi. Oh, no further action required. The regulations seem to change, or the application of them by the stewards seem to change in 2021. All seem to go against Mercedes, or was it just Hamilton? Oh, who knows? Who knows? That's down to your opinion, I guess.
Hampered coming into this season by those slight regulation changes.
Well, that feels like a long time ago, doesn't it? But yes, Mercedes had an awful pre-season test, didn't they?
Oh no, one of the blue dots has become stationary.
We thought they would be in terrible trouble come the first race.
Oh no! Nicholas Latifi has crashed, and I think that is at turn 14.
Lando. Okay, you're trying to chase Pierre Gasly, Yuki Tsunoda, see if you can reel in Bottas in this late stage of the race. Trying to secure 5th position in the championship. Maybe cement 6th if you need to overtake the points haul of Leclerc rather than finish level if on countback Leclerc's record is better. Your chance of getting extra points in this race, they're going to hinge on whether or not this race can restart, Lando, because now what's going to happen is the safety car is deployed, it will come out in front of Hamilton, and Pierre Gasly, the guy that you're trying to chase down, he's going to disappear off around the track, and he's going to be the last car in this snake of cars that's going to be all behind the safety car. The regulations then need to be applied, which are all of the cars which are listed as being lapped, and we can clearly see, because here's the leader, Lewis Hamilton. Behind Lewis Hamilton is Lando Norris. Lando Norris is in 8th position, so every car that's still running in that race, if they're behind 8th, they've been lapped. So 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, and we know that Latifi has crashed. So 8th down to 15th, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cars. See, it's not that hard, even though the FIA in their report tell us it's hard, okay? The FIA's report into Abu Dhabi 2021, they told us it's hard. Shall we have a look? Shall we have a look? Point 33. The process of identifying the lapped cars used to be a manual process. It used to be. When was that? 1960 something? I don't know. For the 2022 season, a software has been developed that will automate the communication of the list of cars that must unlap themselves. Oh, it's that manual process that nobody can do. Because it's so hard, isn't it? It's so hard. What was the other one up here? It was apparent. It was apparent, apparently, that there could be different interpretations. No, it's not, because it's all grounded in context. What was the thing I just skimmed past up here? Hence, it was found that these communications were, that was the communications. It was talking about how difficult it was for the race director. The race director must therefore manage both the cars on the track, the intervention of the safety car, and what happens at the scene of the incident. Now, that's the clerk of the course, i.e., a considerable number of tasks to be accomplished in a minimum of time to allow the race to resume safely and as soon as possible, whilst at the same time responding to the demands of the team principals. This requires immense concentration. Oh, us as human beings, we're incapable of performing feats of such immense concentration, aren't we? Yeah, we're only human after all. Don't put the blame on me. Let's excuse ourselves. Let's absolve ourselves from responsibility. Let's indemnify ourselves from any consequence for wrongdoing. Except when it's fraud, of course. Except when it's fraud. But, back to trusty old tracker view. In fact, no, let's not go to tracker view. Let's go to data view. And in fact, let's go back to, oh no, Nicholas Latifi's crashed. Let's just play this for a second.
Recovery, because they felt they've been hampered coming into this season by those slight regulation changes.
Well,
right, the blue dot is just about to crash. So I'm just going to go to data view. Let's have a look at data view.
Time ago, does.
So if we look here, data view, Max Verstappen plus 11.96 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton. Lando Norris a lap down on the leader, right? Because this first column is how far they all are behind the leader. So Verstappen 11.96 seconds behind Hamilton. Norris 11.15 seconds behind Gasly. So Norris here is closer to Gasly than Verstappen is to Hamilton. He's still in a race. You will never apply the regulations in a way to negatively impact sporting competition to all competitors in that race. Norris in 8th is closer to Gasly in 7th. I'll say it again. Norris in 8th is closer to Gasly in 7th than Verstappen in 2nd is closer to Hamilton in 1st. Is closer to Hamilton in 1st. I didn't say that very well. But hopefully you can understand that Norris is actually closer to Gasly than Verstappen is to Hamilton. And then what? Well, then what? We can fast forward this through a bit. We'll go back to tracker view. And we'll chunk this forward.
A long time ago, doesn't it? But yes, Mercedes had an awful pre-season test, didn't they? We thought they would be in terrible trouble come the first race.
Oh no! Nicholas Latifi has crashed.
So he's crashed, and so we do this.
And but will they let the lap runners through? I don't think it's.
What, Martin? What? Well, we will do this. I'm just checking it was recording.
Absolutely mandatory, but that's normally on a wet day that they don't.
That's a lie, Martin. There's Norris there. He's behind Hamilton. Where's Gasly? Gasly's been into the pits, and now he's catching the back of the snake.
And if so, how long will they wait for those lap cars to get out of the way? If they wait for them to catch the pack up, which they don't have to do, they're...
Nope, affirms Crofty. Nope, they don't have to wait. Well, what have you done to Norris here? You can't apply the regulations in a manner where you're impeding sporting fairness to all of these competitors. Hence, you have the regulations. That's why you carry out Article 48.12, and 48.13 does not override it. It's a sequence. You apply 48.13 once 48.12 has been carried out, which you never did.
And I don't think we'll get a racing lap if they let.
And if we don't get a racing lap, then the finishing order is Lando Norris is in 8th position, or
Them through, we could get one racing lap.
3 laps to go. Nicholas Latifi is seemingly okay after that contact with the barriers, around about 90 miles.
Where's the blue dot of Perez just gone? Oh, it's showing in the pits.
Miles an hour, but he would have taken a whack, and it's good to see that he's okay. Sergio Perez coming into the pits again.
So Max,
I think they're retiring the car here.
Is that Max Brundle? Let's disorientate people. Is that Max? Is that Max? What jeopardy? Oh, no, this is Perez as part of the deal with Mercedes being retired to ensure that, we can only get 26 points maximum now, even if Lewis crashes out. That won't result in a Red Bull 1-2. Even if Lewis gets a puncture now, that won't result in a Red Bull 1-2 of 26 points for Max, 18 points for Checo. Oh, no, that won't result in that. Bottas would have been in 4th. 18 add 26 is what? Well, that is 44. 44, the magic number, right? Bottas in 4th place. Well, that's 12 points. 44 minus 12. Oh, well, that's 32. 32 overtakes a deficit of 28, doesn't it? A Red Bull 1-2 with Hamilton out. If he picks up a puncture now, that means Red Bull win the Constructors' Championship, doesn't it? The $177 million that Mercedes won. We call it, let's say the word won, okay, for the 2021 season, were handed due to this agreement with Red Bull, which we can't evidence. So, I'm not even going to say allegedly. This is a fix. Come at me. Take me to court, Formula One, for making false claims. Come on, bring it. Take me to court for making false claims. For me saying that there was an agreement for Perez retiring the car. And we'll explore every single facet of this fix. Let's do that. Bring it on. Anyway, that was an aside. Because I know you're watching Formula One. Enjoy. You can put whichever corrupt lawyer you choose in front of me. I will obliterate you. Anyway, what are we going to do now? We're looking at Pierre Gasly catching the back of the pack. And how Lando Norris is impacted. Well, 8th position. We know that 8th position, you get 4 points. What's happening now with Perez?
Perez into the pits for the 4th time. I didn't understand why, but I think they are retiring the car.
It's to hand Mercedes the Constructors' Championship. It's the agreement, Crofty. I know you don't understand, or you claim you don't understand, but you were able to articulate that Mercedes were on course for a record-breaking 8th World Championship consecutive, but you couldn't identify that Lewis Hamilton was on course for a record-breaking 8th. So you did confirm one record-breaking World Championship, but you wouldn't confirm the other. I don't know why you were able to do that.
Yes, they're not going to be working on it, and that is the end of Sergio Perez's Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
Checo, we need to retire the car. We need to retire the car. Box.
And for the
really? Yeah, box.
And
really? Why are you so confused, Sergio? Surely you would have felt the fact that there was a problem with your car or engine that would have made it suffer difficulties in getting to the end of this race at safety car speeds, where you're not stressing that engine, and really you've just got to nurse it round to pick up 3rd, a podium, that prestige of having 2 of those positions on the podium fulfilled by Red Bull drivers. And by keeping on track for those remaining laps, on the off chance of Hamilton suffering mechanical failure or puncture and dropping down the order, well, that's a Red Bull 1-2, and that's the Constructors' Championship as well. Really? Yep. Box.
Lapped cars will not be allowed to overtake.
It's not mandatory in the
Yes, it is, Martin.
regulations, which leaves Verstappen with a lot of work to do then.
No, because you can't go racing like this with lap cars in situ, because now, from being less than 12 seconds behind, 11.1 as opposed to Verstappen's 11.9, right? Look at where Norris is relative to Gasly now. Look at where it's going to be when Gasly fully catches up.
So Mercedes will be Constructors' Champions at the end of this race, as it stands at the moment, assuming that Hamilton and Bottas finish this race. The Drivers' Championship, though, is very much up for grabs.
Is it? How is the Drivers' Championship very much up for grabs? And let's just confirm the details of the Constructors' Championships there, Crofty.
End of this race, as it stands at the moment, assuming that Hamilton and Bottas finish this race. Mercedes will be Constructors' Champions at the end of this race, as it stands at the moment, assuming that Hamilton and Bottas finish this race.
No, not assuming that they finish the race, okay? Red Bull went into the race 28 points behind. They've retired Perez. The maximum points that they can pick up now is 26. So even if Hamilton and Bottas retire from the race, they are still world champions of the Constructors' Championship. Not assuming that they finish it. They are now.
The Drivers' Championship, though, is very much up for grabs.
No, it's not. If you can't go racing, they've just said lapped cars are not allowed to overtake. That's not an official message, even though in their report, the FIA claim it's official message. Let's have a look. Point number 3, they give us a lovely story. They tell us what happened. A 14-year-old child could have done a better report than this. With the race on lap 56 of 58 and the safety car still on track, as there was still significant debris being cleared by marshals on the track, as I've evidenced through showing you the footage from Nicholas Latifi's car camera, which was being craned off track at that moment, and that's how we can identify that. The standard message, lapped cars will not be allowed to overtake, was published, which led to confusion amongst the teams as they were preparing for the unlapping procedure. Why would you be preparing for the unlapping procedure? Because you don't prepare for the unlapping procedure. When you're told to unlap, you unlap. There is no warm-up to this. There's no foreplay to the unlapping procedure. There's no preparation, okay? You just do what you're told. It's a safety car situation. What do we do? Oh, we're preparing. No. It's a safety car. You just slow down and follow the car that's in front of you until you're told otherwise. Yeah, but we're prepared. No, you're not preparing for anything, mate. You're not preparing, right? You're just going to stay there, lapping one behind the other, follow my leader like the Belgian parade. We're going to do that for a bit. And when the track is clear, we'll tell you that you can do this. It's not confusing, okay? It's not confusing, okay? Just follow the car in front. You'll be all right. I know this is a highly complex technical sport that none of you understand, and that's why everybody's so confused, okay? Just follow your leader until we've sorted this out, all right? We'll sort it out. Don't you worry your little heads. But that's the standard message. That's the standard message. That's not, is it this one? Oh, there it is, 48.12. Who would have thought that I'd have had this here as well? If the clerk of the course considers track conditions are unsuitable for overtaking, right, because there are still marshals on the track clearing up significant debris, the message, overtaking will not be permitted, will be sent to all competitors via the official messaging system. Overtaking will not be permitted, is what the regulations state. The FIA say the standard message, lapped cars will not be allowed to overtake. See, that's not the standard message, is it? It's not a message because it means nothing. Lapped cars will not be allowed to overtake. But if you're not lapped, you are allowed to overtake. No, it doesn't mean anything, does it? It sends out conflicting messages. You're entitled to your opinion as to whether or not you think you're wrong if you think otherwise, okay? You're not entitled to be wrong. There's some things that are right, there's some things that are wrong. That is not the standard message. That is what the FIA claimed was the standard message. The standard message is overtaking will not be permitted. That's clear cut. That applies to everybody. Everybody, you stay where you are. Overtaking's not permitted. The standard message, lapped cars. Is this the right one? Lapped cars will not be allowed to. What? But I've not been lapped. Am I allowed to overtake? Am I? Who's allowed to race? Who isn't? If I've not been lapped, am I allowed to race? If I've been lapped, am I not allowed to race? Am I allowed to overtake the cars that are also lapped? Who knows? What are the rules? What are the regulations? Nobody knows. FIA International Sporting Code. The regulations will never be applied in a manner. Let's have a look at that. Never be enforced so as to prevent or impede a competition or the participation of a competitor. Oh, so you're going to enforce them in a way that impedes cars that have been lapped? Well, you're not allowed to, because your International Sporting Code says you're not allowed to. But when you do your report, you make no reference to that FIA. Strange that. Anyway. Let's go back to Tracker View. Because on Tracker View, Norris is still in 8th, but Perez is dropping down the order whilst he's in the pits. What's happening now?
Lapped cars won't be allowed to overtake, which means
it's not in the regulations. What's going on here? This isn't allowed. You can't restart racing like this. You can't allow a safety incident to ruin the chances of Lando Norris relative to Pierre Gasly. Lando Norris is still trying to challenge for 5th position in the Drivers' Championship. It's still up for grabs. You cannot resume racing until sporting fairness is restored to all competitors. And if that cannot be achieved, then unlucky. This race will end behind the safety car. All teams agree that if it's not safe to go racing, then they're happy to end behind the safety car. They confirm that in the official FIA report. Let's have a look. Here it is, 32. It was also considered that the decisions regarding the safety car at the end of the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix likely took into account previous discussions, including at meetings of the F1 SAC, the F1 Commission and F1 team managers that made clear the F1 team's preference to end races under green flag racing conditions rather than behind a safety car, when safe to do so. The F1 drivers' consultation confirmed that finishing a race under green flag racing conditions remains desirable, but that safety should always come first. If for safety reasons it's not possible to withdraw the safety car, the F1 teams confirmed that they would accept finishing the race under safety car conditions. You know what that tells you? It tells you nothing. It means nothing. Because you've got procedures that you've got to carry out before you go racing. They ignored that, didn't they? They ignored the fact you've got to carry out them regulations to restore sporting fairness to all competitors in accordance with the FIA Sporting Code. Okay? They ignore that. But instead, they go to 35. The results of the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix and the FIA Formula One World Championship are valid, final, and cannot now be changed. In accordance with the rules, Mercedes made a protest to the stewards after the race seeking to change the race classification. The stewards dismissed the protest and Mercedes then had an opportunity to appeal that decision to the FIA International Court of Appeal, but did not do so. Why not, Toto? Is it the same reason that you didn't attend that appeal to the stewards and sent in a barrister, a legal expert, a so-called legal expert that, I know more than, that legal expert. Weird that, isn't it? There are no other available mechanisms in the rules for amending the race classification. Maybe not in your rules that you indemnify yourself from, but in criminal law that you are actually accountable to, there are. You've committed fraud. You've committed a global fraud. Yes, and you will. I'm going to say what will happen. Well, I don't have control over that, but you're going to be identified for exactly what you've done, and then what will be when enough people know. The world needs to see that there's a consequence for corruption and for wrongdoing. Otherwise, what kind of world do we live in? What kind of world do we live in? Anyway, enough of this corrupting organisation for now. Let's go back to track of view. Which means Verstappen has a lot to do, which doesn't mean that at all.
That there are plenty of cars in between Hamilton and Verstappen for Verstappen to fight his way through. Norris, Alonso, and also Ocon and Leclerc and Sebastian Vettel.
None of which are for position, of course.
No.
None of them are for position, of course. No, they are for position, Martin. See, Norris here, right? He's in. Well, he's still shown as 8th, but with Perez retired, he's in 7th, right? 7th position gets you 6 points. Leclerc's then going to be up to 10th. Well, that's 1. Well, that's a difference of 5, which means Norris overtakes Leclerc in the Drivers' Championship. Yeah, they are. These are for position. These matter. None of which are for position, of course, says Martin.
His way through Norris, Alonso, and also Ocon and Leclerc and Sebastian Vettel.
None of which are for position, of course.
No, they really are. And not only that, Norris, who's now effectively in 7th, even though it's registered still as 8th, because as soon as he goes by the pits, that gets that lap back on Perez, so you'll see Perez drop right back down, right to, at that stage, 15th. You'll see that then, as 7th position, Lando Norris would be 6 points, and he'd be wanting to get 8 points, which is what Gasly's on. Now, 8 points is still not enough to overtake Sainz, but that's the sort of dynamics that exist here. That's the sort of dynamics. A puncture, which is unlucky, which can happen in the sport, has robbed Lando Norris from finishing 5th in the 2021 season, and he ultimately finished 6th in the Drivers' Championship. Were it not for that puncture, it looked on course for Lando Norris to be finishing. Well, he was ahead of Bottas at that stage. Alright? So maybe he'd have finished 4th. But Sainz in 3rd would have picked up 15. Lando Norris in 4th would have picked up 12. Difference of 3. Going into that race, he was, let's just double check to get this right. So going into the race, Lando Norris is 4.5 points ahead of Carlos Sainz. Were it not for the puncture, and with Perez's retirement, then that means that Lando Norris finishes that race with 12 points. Carlos Sainz got 15 points, difference of 3. Well, Carlos Sainz, that's not enough to catch Lando Norris. Lando Norris outscored Leclerc significantly, so Lando Norris would have jumped to 5th. Carlos Sainz would have jumped to 6th, and Charles Leclerc would have been relegated to 7th. He picked up a puncture. It can happen. It's called unlucky. So therefore, that impacted Lando Norris's race. That dropped him positions, dropped the number of points that he was able to pick up at Abu Dhabi, and therefore impacted his World Championship, made him finish 6th. But that battle between 5th, 6th and 7th mattered. Carlos Sainz finished 5th, Lando Norris finished 6th, Charles Leclerc finished 7th. As a result of that race ending, that's the championship standing, isn't it? But there you go, there's the point scoring at that point. Carlos Sainz jumps to 5th, 164.5. Lando Norris 6th, 160. Charles Leclerc 7th, 159. Having picked up this many points. 6 points for Lando Norris. Charles Leclerc got a point for finishing 10th. Carlos Sainz got 15 points for finishing 3rd. Too many things to factor in. You factor in Perez not retiring. Well, that drops Carlos Sainz down a place. But yeah, we're going into the realms of all kind of spurious possibility here. But you look at these time differentials. 59 seconds behind Valtteri Bottas. Well, you're not in a race, are you, Lando Norris? You're not in a race. Your chances of challenging for any of those positions within the top 6, well, you don't have any chance because you were left 59 seconds behind the leader, and therefore you were left, well, 52 seconds behind 6th position. That's not sporting fairness to all competitors. But thankfully we've got Sky Sports F1, the experts of Formula 1 that can articulate all of that to you.
They're obliged to get out of the way, but Lewis will be long down the road.
That I suppose is the compromise that race control have made here by giving the best possible chance for racing to the finish. Rather
for who? For Lando? To all the FIA International Sporting Code, you know, that one that this one here that will never be enforced so as to prevent or impede competition or the participation of a competitor, you know, by giving the chance for racing to the finish.
Rather than finishing behind the safety car, they've decided the lap cars will stay where they are.
They're not allowed to do that. They're not allowed to do that, Crofty, but you're the expert, you're the commentator, you're the person convincing the world that they can.
Cancel that, lap cars will not be allowed to overtake.
Yeah, of course. Typical decision.
No, Max, it's not a typical decision. It's not a decision that they've made since the beginning of the 2012 season, since before you even went into Formula 1, Max, you know, as a 12-year-old boy. Yeah, they've not made that decision since 2012, when the regulations changed to make this mandatory. So it's not typical.
It's classic.
I'm not surprised.
It's not typical and it's not classic. So why are F1 TV picking that out to play it to the world? Or do they just want to feed us a narrative? Oh, poor Red Bull. Poor Red Bull. So what do Red Bull want?
Well, look, I'll try and look at this objectively. We should...
Yeah, objectively, what do Red Bull want?
Get one lap of racing here. If we allowed the lap cars to overtake, we'd have no laps of racing to the...
There you go. If it's not safe, because the duration of this safety incident is such that it's not safe to resume racing, the teams will accept finishing behind the safety car. Oh, they'll accept that, will they? Oh, that's nice.
Checkered flag. So what do Red Bull want? And Max Verstappen and Giampiero Lambiase as race engineer, do they want the chance, or do they want to finish behind the safety car with no overtaking? Because I think that is the decision that has come from race control. And personally, this is the decision that gives them the best chance if they want it.
Yeah.
Personally, this is the decision that gives them the best chance if they want it. So who is this giving the chance to? Just Red Bull. Yeah? It's not giving the chance to McLaren for Lando Norris, is it? It's not giving much of a chance to those two Alpines. It's not giving the chance to Charles Leclerc. It's not giving the chance to Carlos Sainz in third for him to challenge that Red Bull that's in second. What chance is it giving Lewis Hamilton on 44-lap old hard tyres against a car that's just been put onto fresh soft compound tyres? But do Red Bull want that chance or not? Because personally, do they want the chance or not? I'm being objective here. Personally, let me know what your opinion is in the comments section. Remember, you're entitled to your opinion, but you're not entitled to be wrong.
I mean, the regulation, as I said, they may allow the lap.
Martin, you're not entitled to be wrong. Did you not hear me?
Cars through. It's not mandatory, to pointed out, but as you point out, Crofty, there'd be no racing laps if they let the lap cars through, because I think the safety car will come in at the end of this lap, and there will be one racing lap.
Disorientation. Oh, I think it'll come in at the end of this lap, and there'll be one racing lap. Well, you've not carried out the mandatory procedure. We're now on lap 57. Even if the order to those lapped cars is given now for them to unlap, because you couldn't do it prior to now, because as the cars were snaking round turn 14, we saw marshals jumping off the track, as I've demonstrated countless times. And even after they jumped off the track, the clerk of the course would have still need to check things and then radio back to race control to say, yeah, the track is now safe to go racing. You can now do the procedure. They would have on lap 57 by the time that could have happened. So the earliest that those lapped cars can be released, which is the required procedure, is now this lap, which means lap 58 is the safety car lap, because the mandatory regulation is once the last lap car has passed the leader and the safety car will return to the pits at the end of the following lap. The purpose of that following lap is to afford these release cars the opportunity of making it around that track to catch the back of the pack, because that is stated in the regulations. They are to make every effort. Here we go. Having overtaken the cars on the lead lap and the safety car, these cars should then proceed around the track at an appropriate speed without overtaking, and make every effort to take up position at the back of the line of cars behind the safety car. That's the purpose. They are to make every effort to take up position at the back of the line of cars behind the safety car. Remember this as well. These cars should then proceed around the track at an appropriate speed without overtaking. Let's see what happens.
They'll all get blue flags, I would imagine.
Christian and Michael.
Yes, go ahead, Christian.
Yeah, why aren't we getting these lap cars out of the way?
Because, Christian, even if I do let them go now, okay, which I've still not had the notification from the clerk of the course yet to say that he's done his checks and the barriers are safe and that the track is safe to go racing. Even if I release them now, Christian, because we are on lap 57, then lap 58 will be that mandatory safety car lap that you know about. So this is going to be a safety car finish. So you've got to pray to the racing gods now, Christian, that Lewis Hamilton suffers mechanical failure or puncture because the race order will not change behind the safety car were it not for that. Michael Massey to F1 TV, why are you even playing this message to the global world? Why are you playing something that's not in accordance with the regulations? Why are you trying to send this message out to people?
Just give me, because Christian, just give me a second. Okay, my big one is to get this incident clear.
You only need one racing lap.
Well, I assume Christian.
Don't assume, Crofty, because you make an ass out of you and Umption.
Christian's talking about then, you know, getting the lap cars out of the way, not clearing the incidents away.
Yeah, I mean, all of the cars in front of Max will get blue flags and are duty bound to get out of the way.
Lies.
But they're all in a reasonable fight themselves, aren't they?
I thought none of them were for position, Martin. But none of them are for position, which they all are for position and for World Championship points. But they're all in for a reasonable fight themselves now, though, this time round, Martin.
Well, so here we go. Normally, you know, you'd see the race.
So here we go. Where are we going? Where do you go? Where do we go? Where are we going, Crofty? So here we go. What's happening now? Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
And are duty bound to get out of the way, but they're all in a reasonable fight themselves, aren't they?
Well, so here we go.
Here we go.
Normally, you know, you'd see the race lead.
Where are we going, and what do you know?
Backing up the pack a little bit when the safety car goes. I would imagine on this occasion, if we do get a lap, Martin, Hamilton will want to be disappearing off into the distance as fast as he can.
Yeah, I don't see any way Verstappen can do anything with that, but indeed.
Here we go. What's going on here? What's going on here? The dot at the front of that safety car snake has changed colour to orange. Here we go. What's going on?
The safety car coming in this lap, we think it should do, could do. Is there any more debris to clear up?
We think the safety car's coming in, but is there any more debris to clear up? So the track is unsafe, and you're thinking of bringing the safety car in, are you, Martin? Thanks for your opinion. You're entitled to that, but you're not entitled to be wrong, and you're wrong.
But we're halfway round already.
Race control are now saying lapped cars to overtake the safety car. So Norris and Alonso and Ocon and Leclerc and Vettel to
and it's
overtake
ending.
it.
And it's ending. Wow.
Wow. Toto, what do you think?
Mike.
Toto, you throw us these words.
So there's confusion, but the safety.
Oh, it's all confusing, isn't it? So confusing.
Safety car is coming in at the end of this lap. So those.
You 5 cars, you know, there should be 8 of you, but you've got to proceed around that track at an appropriate speed without overtaking. So you've got to, Norris, Alonso, Ocon, Leclerc and Vettel, you've got to proceed around that track at an appropriate speed without overtaking. That's what the regulations say. So you're not allowed to overtake. But there's a race going on behind you. What's going on here? What's going on this track? It's confusion. Nobody knows. Oh, why is that? Because you're not allowed to do it.
Back markers allowed to overtake the safety car, and that has now left Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen.
Michael, this isn't right.
Tell us, Toto, what isn't right? This isn't right. This isn't right. Okay, tell the world, Toto, what, you know, you can articulate quite clearly. This isn't the regulations. The regulations dictate that all 8 cars need to unlap, and then the safety car needs to remain on track. This is against the regulations of the sport, and racing cannot resume like this. And should you try to resume racing like this, we will ensure that the regulations are enforced, and the race will be reinstated back to the running order behind that safety car as it was prior to you obliterating the regulations of the sport. and that will be the declared result of this race. But instead, Toto just says, Michael, this is not right. Well, what's not right about it? Can't you clearly identify what it is, Toto? Can't you articulate that to the world so that the world is aware? Or were you just playing your part? Were you just playing your part? Now you've got your $177 million in the bank. Oh, cha-ching! Celebrate good times. Come on, let's go crowd surfing, Toto, and send the phony barrister into this steward's appeal whilst you're out there on the lash.
It has left Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen side by side. Hamilton will be ahead. Verstappen is absolutely desperate to get on with this on that soft compound tyre. We're going to have one lap of racing to decide the championship.
But these 5 cars are not allowed to overtake each other because they're doing their unlapping lap. The 3 cars that have been left in this running order, well, what are they doing? Are they unlapped cars? Will not be allowed to overtake. We've just got to stay each other. So Stroll, you're not allowed to overtake Daniel Ricciardo. Mick Schumacher, you're not allowed to overtake Stroll. Oh, you fixed your result. You're having a race where people can't challenge each other for position. Well, that's not a race. That's called a parade. Oh, when did we have one of them? Oh, we had one of them in Belgium, which didn't meet the regulations of the sport. The FIA governing body. You can't hold us to account for what we do. None of us can be held to account by any of you. We're our own rules. We're our own government. We make our own rules and you can't do anything about it. Unless it's fraud. And then you can. But if the Serious Fraud Office in the UK refuse to investigate fraud, then this world that we're living in, where we're told there's mechanisms that you need to use that apply to you and me, but not to them, how does that work then? How does that work? Maybe I need to go and have a word with Sir Keir Starmer, our Prime Minister, and find out how the law works, because Keir was a barrister. Human rights, which we've all got. We've all got human rights. And one of them human rights is not to be defrauded. So we'll see about the UK Serious Fraud Office not investigating this fraud. And we'll expose just how deep this fraud actually goes and who is complicit, at what level. This world needs to wake up. And you can help people wake up by sharing this video with everybody.
2021, Hamilton has the advantage. Verstappen has the fight.
Hamilton has the advantage. Let's see if Lando Norris can catch Pierre Gasly. Well, look, it doesn't happen, does it? We know it doesn't happen. You can't go racing because you cannot resume racing like this until you can achieve a position whereby all of these cars are in a line, nose to tail, in the correct race order, so that when you resume racing, all of the previously built-up advantage that existed between those competitors are wiped out. Then you don't go racing. That's what the International Sporting Code is all about. That's what the regulations are for. That's why they're written the way that they're written. But the sport wants to tell you, oh, it's apparent that the regulations are confusing. Look, everybody. Everybody was confused. Don't you worry your little heads. We're only human after all. But the result's final now. Move on. The guy that was going to be a record-breaking 8-time world champion, yeah, don't worry about that. The other guy fully deserved it. And we'll give you a step-by-step of what took place in our lovely little report. And the result's final and now cannot be changed. But we'll go through this at some point. I urge you to read it. I urge you to go online, because I bet you most of you haven't. I bet you most of you haven't read what this is. and I'm just going to obliterate it in a video at some point because it's laughable. It is laughable. These are supposed to be professionals. And this is a report that they presented to the World Motorsport Council. And they went, oh, yes, we'll sign that off. Thank you, that was a superb report. And we'll approve that report. And we'll rubber stamp it to say that that's final. They're all corrupt. Every single one of them is corrupt. And this sport is dirty and will never be returned to being a proper, authentic sport until this corruption is eradicated. Understand that. You're watching a fraudulent enterprise. They're taking your money from you and defrauding you. So I don't care how much any of you like Formula One. I don't care what your opinion is and what you like. Until the corruption is eradicated, you are not watching something that is authentic. And if that's what you want to do with your time, fine. But do not try to sell this to me as being a sport, because it's not. And when you play this on a channel called Sky Sports F1, that sells it to me as being a sport. When you report about this on the BBC Sport section, that sells it to me as a sport. So do not defraud me. Do not defraud 108.7 million viewers of that sport that watched it live. Do not defraud the reported 500 million followers of Formula One worldwide. It's a global fraud. There is loads more to come. I just hope that you can continue to support me by liking the videos, subscribing to the channel, and most importantly, sharing this so that many, many more people have their eyes open to the true reality of the fraud that was the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. It's a fraud, and it needs investigating properly. The perpetrators need holding to account. The whole corrupt regime needs eradicating, and that's the only chance that those people that actually invest their time, energy, money and emotion into this sport will ever see anything authentic again. Thank you for your time.